Football fever. It's the Buckeyes versus the Badgers. Welcome into another edition of our show. I'm Kellyanne Stiss, joined by our former Buckeyes, Jay Richardson, Obi Stillwell, and Ben Buchanan. Now, Ohio State is coming off of a ranked win on the road over Illinois to improve to 6-0 on the season. And the Buckeyes are back on the road this weekend, taking on a struggling Wisconsin team in Madison. Now, guys, Camp Randall is traditionally a very tough place to play. Ben and Jay, I know teams that you guys played on had some tough days at Camp Randall. Obi, your 95 squad, they had some success in Madison, right?
Yep,
what are you guys' memories from that game? Ben, I'm going to start with you because that 2010 loss was particularly tough as the number one team.
It was. You come in the number one team in the country. That's what we were in 2010. It was my first year starting at Ohio State. It was a night game, college game days there. Maybe this is the tape. You remember very first play of the game. They housed the opening kickoff, right? So football is a game of momentum. As we say, you want to ignite it and you want to keep it. And it just felt like that whole night we were playing catch-up in 2010. That was the year Terrell Pryor started for Ohio State. Had a little bit of a tough game. You look at 14 of 28 passing with an interception. None of our running backs were able to eclipse that 100-yard mark, so we're not able to rush the football effectively. And it just was a long game. Nothing else to really say about it. We were, I think, number one for that 1 week, and then unseeded by number 18 Wisconsin. Now, we did get some revenge in 2012, Urban's first year at Ohio State. We went up there and defeated them in overtime, 21-14. If you remember, Ryan Shazier punched out that the ball from running back Monty Ball, and Carlos Hyde had the winning touchdown in that one. So it was one more step in an undefeated season for 2012. But what I think about 2010, again, it's a game of momentum. You have to start fast. We saw that the Wisconsin Badgers were able to do that. I hope the Buckeyes have a chance to start fast today.
That's a deflating way to...
No question.
Momentum. No better way to deflate some momentum in the
right
other
off
side.
The back.
Right off the game.
No question.
All right, Jay, your memories from Camp Randall.
I'm sorry, mine aren't much better. If I gotta be honest, it's a tough place to play.
Mine weren't too. I have to admit.
Tough place to play. 2003, we go up there. It's a night game, Ben. You know that feeling?
Yeah.
They had a kid named Lee Evans, wide receiver, fantastic. They had Jim Sorgi. You know, Lee had an out and up on Chris Gamble late in the game, and it was a huge, huge catch and touchdown. Brutal plane ride back home.
Oh, I bet.
Brutal film session that following Sunday and Monday. And you don't understand it, but when you're out there and you're in the middle of that, it becomes so intense that you sometimes forget about the game itself and the checks and your calls and different audibles, and you're just so locked in on the experience, the crowd, how loud and crazy it gets. We all know about the jump around heading into the fourth quarter. It's a really cool experience. It was the first time I got some loose change thrown and bouncing off of our helmets. They were throwing quarters at us. Their fans are awful and wonderful at the same time. And we love that. I love you guys, and I love away games. I play better in away games. But that is, in my 5 years at Ohio State, I think I only had like 5 losses, and 2 of them were to Wisconsin.
Wow.
So that just tells you the challenge that this team can present. I don't know if they're the same team right now.
No, they don't look like it. I know the losses stick with you guys, but I'm glad you can laugh through the trauma now. But Bobby, you had a better experience at Camp Randall.
Yeah, I did. This is a while ago. You know, you can see the pixels are a little bigger as you go back a little further. 1995, but in 1993, we were actually battling for the Big Ten championship, and it was Marlon Kerner. Back then, you would actually play to a tie, and they would leave it as a tie. So Wisconsin was actually going to kick the winning field goal, and Marlon Kerner came off the edge and blocked the field goal. So preserved our Big Ten championship, but did not preserve our rights to go to the Rose Bowl. They ended up taking Wisconsin because they had not been in the latest, the last person who had not been the longest, or however you want to say that. But so that was 1993, 1995. Yeah, 1995 was the redemption road, right? 1995 was great. Eddie had an amazing game. Camp Randall, cold, loud, hard-hitting game. Big offense. I'm like, where do they get these offensive linemen?
Huge offense.
Big offensive linemen and hard-nosed running back. They were throwing ice balls at us. They would take the snowballs, dip them in water, and leave them out.
The tactics,
so that was before they got the tarp. That was actually what initiated them getting a tarp, so that when you walked out. So when we walked out, they said, strap up your chin strap, because some guys walk out. They said, nope, everybody helmets on, put your and strap your chin strap, and I want everybody tight.
You know,
Wow.
it's funny
And
you say
it was
that.
just throwing
A
things.
guy that played in that game with y'all, Luke Fickle, used to told us the same thing when we were at Camp Ready. Go, hey, tighten up your helmets because they're going to throw stuff at
Wow.
you.
Yep.
Except it wasn't ice balls, it was quarters.
Quarters.
Yeah.
Either
Yeah.
way,
By
still
the way,
hard objects.
Wisconsin fans, that's assault.
Hot
That's
shot.
assault. So, I don't know.
Hopefully none of that anymore. While the Buckeyes currently hold a 10-game win streak over the Badgers, with their most recent win in Camp Randall coming in 2023, with 11 current Buckeyes playing in that game. And back-to-back road games for the Buckeyes means back-to-back weekends of travel for our Dave Holmes. Dave's also been to Camp Randall before. Dave, what's the atmosphere like out there in Madison?
Well, first off, I feel bad for Obi that they threw ice balls at him. Makes sense, though, since Obi played at the end of the Ice Age. My goodness, I'm glad we're able to dig up some color video. I love you, Obi. I love you. No, I love Camp Randall Stadium. I love Madison. This is one of my favorite cities in the entire country, let alone college town. The food is good. The people are good. I love it here. It's a beautiful setting between two glassy lakes. But for Ryan Day and the Buckeyes, this is a road trip. And it's rare because most seasons Ohio State plays 4, maybe 5 road games. This year they play 3 out of 4 weeks. They went on the road to Washington, tough place to play out there at Husky Stadium, then at Memorial Stadium, Illinois last week, this week Camp Randall. So 3 road games in 4 weeks, certainly rare at Ohio State. And earlier this week, I asked Ryan Day about what the grind is like when you play 3 out of 4 away from Columbus.
I think there's a lot of positives when you go on the road. I think our guys enjoy being on the road, a little less distractions. Everybody kind of together, hunkered together, kind of a bonding opportunity at the hotel. When you go into the stadium, there's certainly the scarlet and gray up there and the Buckeyes who travel, but you kind of feel like you're on your own, and you kind of gain your identity when you're on your own.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this 4-week stretch, he said they circled before the season and they wanted to really attack this 3 out of 4 on the road window. And if they get through today, and I think they will, guys, the schedule gets very easy from here. You go on the bye week and then you host Penn State. We know they could not be any more down. At Purdue is not that difficult. Home games against UCLA and Rutgers after that. So the next 4 looks much more friendly than the previous 4. And then the final game, forget who they play, but there's one more after that final weekend of Thanksgiving, guys.
Well, thanks so much, Dave. In the Alice Butler defensive checkup, the Silver Bullets had to do some retooling in their secondary against Illinois. Lorenzo Styles Jr. missed the game with an injury, so Jermaine Matthews Jr. slid into the nickel position and performed exceptionally well. But without Maine at corner, the gap was filled by one of the most highly touted recruits of this freshman class, Devin Sanchez. He started at corner against the Fighting Illini. The former 5-star is huge for a corner, 6'2", 200 pounds. Obi, this is a kid that's going to be great, but that's a tough position to be in at, what, 18 years old? Well, how would you assess his performance?
Well, I think he did well. You know, I had an opportunity to actually speak with one of his trainers in Houston, Texas, and I asked him, hey, what type of player is he? He said, very humble, extremely confident, but very athletic. Was able to speak with Tim Walton, his current position coach. I asked Tim, hey, what makes him good? He said he's a very, very athletic kid who has good cover skills, has poised demeanor, very good ball skills. And so I said, well, what makes a defensive back, he said he's good, but what makes him great? He said, what makes him great is the details and him understanding the quarterback and the wide receiver relationship and the transition, how he gets out of his breaks. I think he did well. Did he make mistakes? Yeah, he made some mistakes in this game, but he was not a liability. And at the end of the day, that's what that other team is trying to see. Is he a liability? Do we miss Lorenzo Styles Jr.? Yes, we'd be happy to get him back. Yeah. But guess what? You know what? Sanchez filled the gap, for sure.
A high ceiling for the freshman. Well, Coach Day said Lorenzo Styles should be good to go today against the Badgers, which means Jermaine Matthews will shift back to corner. But Matthews played very well at the nickel position with a strip sack and a deflection that led to an interception. Ben, what did you like about Maine's versatility? And do you think we could maybe see him slide back into that position moving forward?
I think so. You named the word perfectly there, and it's versatility. When I look at Jermaine Matthews Jr., he is a versatile athlete. He's been able to play at the corner position, the nickel position. And you really talk about the differences here. When you look at the nickel, you're playing more in the slot, right? When you're at the corner position, you can use the sideline more. I was talking with some of our defensive experts upstairs, Jay Rich and Obi Stillwell here. You think about when you're in that slot position, the lateral quickness that's needed, the anticipation that's needed, and he really showed up and showed out in that game versus Illinois. So to see the versatility that he's brought to the table, you think about a versatile football team is obviously a better football team, and And, you know, just seeing all the guys, all the elite athletes that Matt Patricia has at his disposal is exciting for 2025. And I think the ceiling is very high for Jermaine Matthews. I think he projects well to the next level, and you're just seeing that versatility. It looks great thus far.
Matthews brings versatility, but he also brings energy to the secondary, along with his counterpart at corner, Davison Igbinosun, who's coming off of a monster game himself against Illinois. His aggressive hands on defense caused 4 pass breakups and limited the impact of Justin Bowick, quarterback Luke Altmaier's favorite red zone target. Following his career day at Champaign, guys, he had a message for opposing quarterbacks. Take a listen.
I have 4 pass breakups. Stop throwing at me.
When you think of the DBs you want on your team, I mean, they're gritty, they're competitive, they're edgy, they have a short memory. You know, at times you can't tell them anything. That's the way you want it. And I tell those guys all the time, man, you bring me up every day because you bring juice.
He's got that dog in his day. He brings an edge and an attitude to this Buckeye secondary. Now, okay, at times it can be a little bit too aggressive where it's undisciplined with pass interference penalties against Illinois. I know that's something you're definitely going to key in on, but where can Igbinosun improve to become an elite corner?
So here's the thing about Iggy, man. He's a special athlete. I want people to understand this. When I get very animated talking about Igbinosun, it's not from a negative place. Yes, he's a heavily penalized kid the last couple years, but what he also brings is so much energy, so much juice. He reminds me of a guy I played with in New York when I was with the Jets. His name is Antonio Cromartie. Now, Iggy's not as big as Cromartie across the chest. Cromartie's heavier, but they're both, you know, about 6'2" corners, 6'3" Cromartie is, and they're both insanely aggressive and competitive, and I think that's what Iggy brings. He's so aggressive. Yes, he gets very hands-on, as we say, and he loves to do his seatbelt strap deal after he locks somebody down. All we asked of Iggy is just, man, when that ball's in the air, if you could just maybe get your head around and track it, maybe not grab the wide receiver's numbers, and he's going to be excellent. Because at the next level, when they're looking for professional technique, I think one of the things, guys, and you know this, that they're going to look for is what do you do with your hands and your eyes when the football's in the air. He's so good with his footwork. He's so good at jamming guys and running with them. And then when the ball's in the air, the only change I'd want to make to Iggy is just get your hands off the guy, turn around, make a play on the ball, and then you're instantly a top 10 pick. Seriously, he has that kind of potential.
And he's showing improvement, and I'm sure he will continue throughout the season. Now, coming up on the Football Fever, we continue to say how good quarterback Julian Sayin is. He's got the talent, but has he really been tested yet this season? We'll break it down coming up. Welcome back. We keep saying it here on The Fever, but Julian Sayin has been stellar through 6 games as the Buckeyes quarterback. He has the 4th best QBR in the nation with 1,400 yards passing and 15 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. He's accurate with a quick release with the best completion percentage in the nation, completing nearly 79% of his passes. But the California kid has yet to activate Super Saiyan, where he needs to rely on his arm to go out and win a game. Jay and Obi, Julian may have to wait to truly be tested by teams maybe until the postseason, but what more do you want to see from the young quarterback? I'm going to go with you, Jay.
So, if I had to be picky, and I don't want to be picky because Julian Sayin is such a fantastic quarterback, and even those 3 interceptions, you know, I think 2 of them were picked. They came one against Grambling, 2 against OU. One of those was tipped up in the air. And so, you know, he's been almost perfect as a young quarterback, as somebody that you knew had a lot on his shoulders coming in and was in a really good battle, I think, with Lincoln Kienholz over the summer. What I want to say about Julian is we're all waiting for that moment for him to get more aggressive with the offense, more aggressive with the deep ball, more aggressive with throwing through some tight windows that maybe don't look like they're there, a little bit more aggressive with his anticipation. I think he doesn't realize that he's got a fantastic defense behind him. He's got a lot of skilled players behind him, and he can afford to take some chances. And I know that seems counterintuitive when you're talking about a young player because you don't want him to screw up what I call the Ferrari, which is this Ohio State offense, just driving in the straight line. And he's been doing that at a high level. But when you're going to get to a point where you want to have some of those knocks under your belt when you hop into one of those big games. Like Ohio State's going to be in the playoffs, and they're going to have to match up against Alabama, Georgia, something like that. And when those big moments come, I want to know, can Julian go and win a football game with his right arm? He hasn't had to do it yet. I think he can do it, but I want to see him start to perfect that process and get aggressive about doing it now.
Obi, do you think that he could rely on his arm to win a big game?
Yeah, you know, I think so, and it's just so difficult, right? We're kind of splitting hairs. We're talking about Julian Sain, who's one of the top quarterbacks in the country, and we're talking about #1 Ohio State. But, you know, it is how we have all been conditioned, even going through Ohio State University. It's just how it was, right? My coach, Coach Fred Puggett, as a linebacker coach, he said, "Oh, I want you in the A gap," and I'm like, "Not in the C gap," and I'm like, "But I made the tackle." "I don't care that you made the tackle. I want you in this gap," right? So there's ways in which that at an elite level, you have to really nitpick. You almost have to be creative also in trying to figure out what is the opponent going to do against us. What is that opponent thinking about so there's certain ways that we have to nitpick this to really try to get and see, hey, does he have what's needed? Well, you know, it's interesting because I saw Devin Brown, previous quarterback at Cal. A freshman beat him out, right?
Wow.
At Cal. And it's interesting to see. The trust that I have in Ryan Day.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Is at another level. And that's the faith that I put in Julian Sain. Is he going to be that person when we need him to be that person? I think he will be. And the reason why I believe that is because of Ryan Day. Because he does not put someone on the field that cannot perform.
100%. We're all nitpicking here. I think we can all agree that we have been very impressed with Julian Sain.
It's a good problem to have when you're nitpicking, right? It's a good problem to have.
So we know that he can sling it, creating explosive plays through the air, but we haven't seen many explosive plays yet out of the backfield, breaking into the second level. The run game has been solid, just not explosive. Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins are a tough act to follow, but Bo Jackson and C.J. Donaldson have the potential and are showing flashes. Ben, what do you think needs to happen to really ignite this run game?
Yeah, guys, Trey and Quinshon, they were elite, right? No other way to put it. They were like almost a thunder and lightning, and you would expect them always to go over, 100-plus yards and score multiple touchdowns and really just be the physical backs that we're used to seeing at Ohio State. To me, it comes down to attitude and toughness here, right? You want to achieve that balance in football. I remember Urban Meyer used to always say we're going to aim for that 250 to try to get 500 yards of total offense. No Julian Sain can throw the ball, certainly, but it does come down to attitude and toughness. And for me, guys, I'd love your thoughts as well. It's been a little bit of a question mark, right? Because when you look at the offensive line, I think we have the best offensive line in the country when you talk about allowing quarterback sacks, quarterback protections and such. But are they willing to get off the ball, kind of impose their will and allow them to move defenders like that? That's where it's been a little bit of a question mark for this team. So are they lacking explosiveness? Are they being a little too careful? To me, it just seems like they're being a little too cautious at this point. We've seen Bo Jackson. He's gone over the century mark twice thus far. But when you look at James People, 59 yards versus Grambling, have to argue the competition. C.J. Donaldson, 45 yards versus Grambling, looking at the competition. C.J.'s been a great kind of short yardage back, but just looking for that explosiveness, guys. I want to see that.
They're looking behind their back, wondering if they're going to get pulled?
Right? And then so is that where they're playing a little tentative, right? I mean, that's a valid question.
And now Illinois had a physical front, too, so I think that spoke to just limiting the run game a little bit last week. But, I mean, Bo Jackson, he has that capability and that potential.
I want to see more of Bo, guys. And I know people are going to say, we have great backs. I want to see more of Bo. I think when this offense is at its best, Bo Jackson is the RB1, and he is making a lot of things happen up front.
Yeah, well, one of those guys helping pave the way for the running backs this season is center Carson Hinsman, the quarterback of the offensive line. Carson is the leader of a line ranked first nationally in fewest tackles for loss allowed and second in sacks allowed with just 2 in 6 games. But before he became a Buckeye, he was like this close to becoming a Badger.
Everything I had was Badger my whole life.
Carson Hinsman grew up in Spring Valley, Wisconsin as a diehard Badgers fan.
Every birthday I had, my mom would like paint something on the windows and stuff like that, and she'd always like paint like Bucky Badger like on the windows, and we'd like do like dresses up and stuff like that. I mean, I dressed up as like a Wisconsin Badger fan my whole life. I always carried around a Wisconsin lunch pail like until I graduated high school.
Carson carried his Wisconsin lunch pail and went to work on the football field to become a 4-star prospect and the 3rd-ranked player in the state of Wisconsin. His accolades at St. Croix Central High School earned him an offer from his favorite school.
One night, like we were coming back, I think it was from like one of my sister's games or something like that. We were in the car and I was almost committed there. I was like, well, let's call him. And it was like really, really late or something like that. And he didn't, I don't think Coach Rudolph answered at the time. Or I was like, maybe I'll think about it the next day. And the next day, I think we called him. I was like, I was just thinking about something or something like that. But then it kind of went on, thought about it more, and obviously committed here.
Carson was close to committing to Wisconsin, but he had a change of heart. And his heart took him away from home to a place that felt like one.
It was different, but I think it almost felt more like home than Wisconsin did at the time. And obviously, I want to be part of a winning culture, and that's what we had here. And if you want to be the best, you got to be able to play with the best. So, I mean, that was a big pull.
Saturday will be his second time returning to Camp Randall as a Buckeye, but this trip is different because Carson is playing with more confidence.
I'm just excited to go and play with a lot more confidence than I had back then. I have a lot of trust in what we got going on here right now, and I mean, as an O-line group, and obviously got a lot of trust in our backfield, so I'm excited to go, put on a field, make it happen.
Carson is excited to play in front of his home crowd. He says he has somewhere between 30 and 40 tickets reserved for family and friends for today's game. Now, coming up on the Football Fever, after 12 seasons in State College, James Franklin is in need of a new home. The second most winning coach in Penn State's history has been bought out. What the future holds for the man who can never win the big one. That's next.
Games.
Well, after 12 seasons as the head coach of Penn State, James Franklin is out of a job. The school choosing to exercise the roughly $56 million buyout option of his contract. He leaves the school with an all-time record of 88-39 and a Big Ten record of 64-33. But the big knock on Franklin is he's never been able to win the big one. He's just 16-29 against ranked teams and 4-21 against top 10 teams, and just 1-10 against Ohio State. Coach Day reflected on Franklin's firing earlier this week. Take a listen.
Well, anytime you're somewhere for as long as he has, he did a lot of great things, and we had a lot of great games against each other. So, yeah, you take a chance to reflect on it all, but he's going to land on his feet, and he's a really good coach.
Franklin's firing really highlights just how hot the coaching seat is this season. I feel for everyone in college football. Jay, who do you think has the hottest seat in college football right now?
Oh, God, that is a tough question.
I know.
There's some out there. Yeah.
After seeing some really interesting games and some guys
and
really
Mike
struggle.
Gundy was fired this year, which I know was shocking.
Mike Gundy, I think down there in Florida, there's a coach there that's really in trouble. I think
Billy Napier?
I think Napier is a little bit of trouble. I think the Texas game helped him, but he's still in trouble. I also think had Sarkisian not won the Red River rivalry, which is hard to say, by the way, 3 times fast, I think he would have been in a very, very warm seat.
Okay.
I got to say, Luke Fickell's got a lot that he's got to show there in Wisconsin. And I don't know if maybe he's thinking maybe I could have just stayed at Cincinnati and had a nice pathway to the playoffs every year if they could have found me some money. So that's a tough question.
Yeah, and it's tough right now with NIL, the transfer portal, this win now mentality, and the buyout culture for all these head coaches in college football. Now, Wisconsin, as Jay just mentioned, has struggled losing their last 4 games, coming off of a shutout loss by Iowa. If the Badgers part ways with Luke Fickell, Obi, could you see a future where he returns to Ohio State?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, Ryan Day has everything kind of, on lock right now. I could see him possibly going to see maybe what Mike Vrabel has at the Patriots for him or something like that. But I could also see him taking a head coaching job. You see a picture there. We had an opportunity. My wife and I actually had an opportunity to head to Madison a couple months ago and chit-chat with Luke. Luke and Amy are amazing people. They have 6 kids. They have 2 sets of twins. Luke also has a son who's the graduate assistant. So he's coaching with him. And then he has a daughter who's playing volleyball for Indiana right now. So I think that Luke is in a interesting position because Wisconsin gives the illusion as if they are behind the whole NIL and they're a strong powerhouse university. But I don't think that Luke is getting the support that he needs. And Luke is a class act, so he would never ever say anything like that, right? And he'll kind of just take the brunt of it. But I don't think that they're behind on facilities, they're behind on their weight room. If you really dive into this, the issue is that Wisconsin is not of age at this point in time. So it really makes you look at a Ross Bjork, right? You look at our president, and you see how much they've invested in this university in Ohio State. And that actually plays out on the field. Having the right players, having the money around them to do what you need to do. Until Luke has that, I don't think he's going to be able to.
So it's a lack of resources.
The college arms race is absolutely a real thing. It is big business, as we know, and that's interesting where you say some programs do lag behind. And credit to Ross Bjork, Ryan Day, I mean, the management behind them, they're putting Ohio State Buckeyes in the position, handling everything on their end so the Buckeyes can handle it on the field. I think that's an astute observation.
It's tough to keep up in this new era of college football,
Can we toss one more name on the hot seat, too, that no one's talking about? Sharon Moore at Michigan. Some of Michigan struggles over the last season, and with some of those issues they had with the cheating and all the scandals, they might decide to go in a different direction.
We're going to table this for the end of November as well. But for more on Fickell's future as the head coach of Wisconsin, let's send things out to our Dave Holmes. Hey, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, if you talk to the students on campus like we did last night, they think Luke Fickell's seat is very hot. He's 15-17 now in 2+ seasons, including that loss last week, 37-0. That's a season's worth of points for the Iowa Hawkeyes. 4 straight losses overall by a combined 92 points. So the other thing I think they're frustrated about here in Wisconsin is Fickell's team started at 7-6, and they've gotten progressively worse each year. So they're not seeing that progress. So time will tell if Fickell can save his job. A win today certainly would go a long way towards that. But earlier this week, on the Script podcast, I had Jim Tressel as my guest. And, of course, Luke Fickell was the defensive coordinator and then interim head coach who replaced Jim Tressel. And I asked Coach Tress what he thought about Luke Fickell's struggles.
There's no question. I mean, it's been a battle. And not only is it a different world, you know, it's probably not as level a playing field, you know, as it once was. Let's face it.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, for 3 years in a row, he's lost the starting quarterback. You know, you need to have one of those, right? Right?
No doubt. Right? Yeah, at least 3 of them.
That's right. You know, and so he's going through tough times, but you know, it's the good news is Benny mentioned, you know, the care part of things. He'll never stop caring about those kids. He'll never stop being there for them. He'll step out and take the incoming, because that's just the way the head coach has to be, and you know, you just keep fighting, and he will.
And that's the frustration.
You know, it's funny. I've been to Camp Randall Stadium in Madison here a few times. I've never sensed the apathy of the fans. Even last night, we told people we were from Columbus, and I said, hey, Luke's our guy. He was a Buckeye, and fans said, you can have him back. I mean, there was just total apathy, anger here. Certainly a difficult time for Luke Fickell. But, guys, the issue is, you know, the only thing more expensive than paying a guy to coach your college football team is paying a guy to not coach your college football team. And when you look at the buyouts in some of these guys, Fickell is included. I believe Fickell's contract says he gets 80% of his remaining value, so it's not cheap to make someone go away.
No, what we're learning is that, Dave, you can't pay for patience. The win-now mentality is fueling the buyout culture, and schools are paying those big bucks for change. Fickell's buyout is roughly $25 million. Franklin got paid $56 million to leave Happy Valley, the second biggest buyout in college football history, behind Jimbo Fisher. Texas A&M bought him out for $76 million back in 2023 when actually Ross Bjork was the athletic director. Ben, what precedent do you think this sets for universities moving forward? Are they too easily influenced by the outcry of fans? What's your take on this?
Yeah, you wonder that, because, you know, we've heard it and we've seen it kind of brewing at Penn State for a couple of years now. It's, you know, they're booing him coming off the field. For me, what I saw with this, particularly the Penn State firing, 4-21 versus the top 10 teams.
Right.
That's where he showed, he wins the games he's supposed to for the most part. But when you come to Penn State, they see themselves in that kind of elite aura as Ohio State, and just was absolutely missing the mark. What I see from this, man, it is a win-at-all-cost mentality, and it's a win-now mentality, what we see. I don't care who you are, who's writing that check, what booster's behind that. $50 million, 56 as we know. That's nothing to scoff at. And so, you know, did somebody finally make a call? Was it a group of donors that came together? But Penn State sees themselves in that elite air, and, you know, losing to UCLA, losing to Northwestern, not getting it done against Oregon. They're starting to see it's starting to pile up here, and they decided to make a change. But it is staggering, the numbers we're seeing.
And I mentioned patience, and they were patient with James Franklin, 12 seasons, right, to try to win the big one. Right. But, you know, it's this win-now mentality of this day and age. It's interesting to – I don't envy these head coaches.
Sure.
Well, maybe those buyouts.
Well, it is crazy. And you think of it with James Franklin, second most in program history when you come to win, second only to Joe Paterno. But, you know, and then you can ask the question, right, is something like this financially responsible? There's a lot of question marks that come around something like this, but we're seeing it more and more. This is big business when you talk about college football, the advent of NIL, the House settlement. Now we're seeing this revenue sharing of student athletes as well. So people are allowed to ask these types of questions, and fans, they demand excellence, right? We even saw it with Dave's report there in Wisconsin. You know, they want to win. They want to win now, and they're willing to pay for them to go away. It's just crazy.
A lot of moving parts to keep track of, and Professor Ben, thank you so much for breaking that down.
Absolutely.
Well, recently, he rung the bell of victory and kicked cancer in the butt. The blessing after the battle with prostate cancer that touched one of our own on the Fever crew here. That's next on The Football Fever.
Let's go places.
Toyota's Friday Night Rivals. Central Ohio's best.
It's finally game time.
Toyota's Friday Night Rivals, presented by D.R. Horton, America's Builder. Friday night at 7 on the CW Columbus.
The Football Fever is sponsored by Kia.
Former Buckeye and our beloved Fever analyst, Obi Stowell, rang a victory bell of his own on August 29th, one day before Ohio State's victory bell rang out at the Shoe when the Buckeyes beat Texas in an historic season opener. Now, for Obi, that sound not only signifies victory, but a blessing after a battle with prostate cancer. Joined by Obi and his wife, Heather. Now, we talk a lot about football on the show, but this goes way beyond the game. Obi, you were diagnosed with prostate cancer in 2023, but you received 2 weeks of treatment this year, right before that Texas game. Kind of walk me through your journey.
Yeah, you know, we found out that I had prostate cancer, and my numbers were elevated. I was actually getting some testosterone treatment, and that's when they actually saw that my numbers were elevated. Went to oncologist, and they ended up wanting to do a biopsy. Did a biopsy. They said it was very, very early stages of it, and so I had a little time to make some decisions. And that's when kind of it got hard. It got challenging because the treatment plans were kind of sporadic, somewhat unclear, and so those were some challenging times. But we finally found a resting place, if you will, at the Mayo Clinic.
In Rochester, Minnesota, too, right?
Yes, Rochester, Minnesota.
Very quickly, why did you pick that hospital?
Well, I just, you know, there was a certain type of treatment called proton radiation therapy versus photon. The Mayo Clinic was one of the hospitals that actually offer it. It's only probably about a dozen in the country that have the proton therapy, and so we wanted that kind of presented less side effects. And so and then I was able to kind of talk with the doctors, but they're also extremely thorough. They're very transparent in the treatments and what was available and all that kind of stuff. So felt really comfortable, though we had to drive 13 hours to get there.
Wow, but it was worth it. And I'm sure ringing the bell, I know it was emotional for you, Obi, and I know it was emotional for you, Heather, too, as his wife, during a scary time. Walk me through those emotions that you felt when you heard the bell.
I got emotional watching it. Just the victory. It's the journey to get to that bell and all the ups and downs and the navigating on how, you know, on how do we get to this point, and where is the ending point of this. So when I seen him ring that, it was like I could let go of that long, I held my breath for so long, and I was able to finally release it.
I'm so happy for you guys. Obi, what would be a message to other men out there?
Yeah, just really to be very proactive about your health, right? And then make sure that you navigate through various treatments, various remedies. Like, just gather the information, but also make sure that you're on top of it. Make sure you can, really your treatment has a lot to do with how early they can detect it. So go to the doctor, get your PSA, make sure you stand on top of your health.
And you guys drove 13 hours back from Minnesota to make sure that you were here for the Texas opener with us on The Football Fever. We love you guys so much. Obi, if you guys want to join Obi in this conversation and learn more about prostate cancer, getting ahead of it, the treatment, you have your Breakfast Club coming up.
Obi's Breakfast Club is coming up October 23rd. It's just coming Thursday. Make sure you're there. Get your tickets. I'm going to have my physician, who's actually with the Mayo Clinic. He's going to come in via web, and he's going to answer questions. We're going to have a Q&A conversation. So actually, someone's just reached out. They're coming in from Florida.
Wow.
To actually be a part of it. So make sure you get your tickets, hang out with us. If you can't afford it, inbox me, just because I want y'all to be there.
A very impactful conversation. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the Football Fever this morning, Heather, especially for you.
Thank you so much.
Well, coming up, we have a lot more to get to on the Football Fever. Stick with us.
Welcome back to the Football Fever. Time now for our G&J Pepsi fantastic photo of the week. Even the Buckeye fans make it inside Camp Randall Stadium here. They always travel so well. We love to see Buckeye fans in Madison, Wisconsin. Now, one of the best traditions in all of college football happens right here between the third and fourth quarter when they play House of Pain's 1990s rap one-hit wonder, Jump Around. And this entire place gets jumping every time I'm up there in the press box and I'm questioning the structural integrity of the building because everything is shaking and swaying. It's actually kind of scary at times, but it's a really cool tradition. And we thought, what would be a song that maybe Ohio State could adopt? Now, to be clear to all our Buckeye traditionalists, we're not changing a thing at the shoe. We love it. But we thought, what if we could name a song, something to get the Buckeyes hyped in the fans? So I will go first in this discussion. And for me, I think any good song, whether it's Enter Sandman at Virginia Tech or a song like Living on a Prayer, you got that great instrumental and a chorus that everyone can scream. And for me, that's Van Halen right now. And guys, let me bring in the rest of the group back in the studio. When I think of Van Halen right now, you know when you ride the Power Tower at Cedar Point and that piano music hits and you're starting to go up and you know it's about to go down. You know it's about to go down. That's Van Halen right now. So that gets me hyped when I'm up there 300 feet in the sky.
Great description there, Dave. Well, Jump Around is a great song. It makes for an even better tradition. It's something OSU could maybe adopt here. Well, we think so maybe on the Football Fever, trying to tweak some of their game day traditions similar to the Jump Around. We picked a song that we think should be a part of Ohio State's game day in this make-believe land, and Dave just alluded to it. Jay, I'm going to go with you first. What song would you think that Ohio State can include on game day?
Here we go.
Okay. Oh, you know how I'm going to do it. So first of all, you gotta stay with me here. Imagine this. Just picture, if you will.
Okay.
The Buckeyes lining the tunnel, getting ready to come down.
Right.
The whole crowd is wearing red. It's a night game. It's got to be a night game.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, you hear Jay-Z's voice. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name, and when he says my name, fire erupts. And fireworks come out everywhere. And then the Buckeyes come running out, and the lights are flashing red and black. It's going in and out, and there's fire and flames. Live. We need live flames on the field everywhere. I think that would be probably the dopest way to enter a night game in the Ohio State venue. I think that'd be amazing.
I was going to say, you just painted a great picture. I was getting hyped. I was like, oh, yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like that, Obi, you with me right now?
I am.
But you do something different.
Yes, because this is not about the intro of the game. This is at a fourth quarter introduction. It's, you know, Wisconsin, they play it at the fourth, the jump around.
Yeah.
I would have chosen, or I would choose Earth, Wind, and Fire, September. Do you remember?
I get everything in the crowd.
Yeah. We'll take you to the cookout.
Yeah, okay. All right.
And I just, that would be a whole vibe, and it would be something I believe not only Ohio State fans, but other fans, that the visitors would actually get in the
All right,
sounds pretty good.
So we have,
it's a fun song.
Okay, we have creative freedom here in this fun segment. Ben, what about you? Fourth quarter, intro, outro, whatever.
I'm going kind of like Dave. Well, I went a little old school here, Obi. You might appreciate this song, "Eminence Front" by The Who. It's classic rock and roll right here.
Okay.
Now look at this. We're talking about a slow build, kind of the unique vibe that comes with it. There's a definite swagger, and to me, it's this slow build if you listen to the instrumentals of this song. But what I love about this, guys, is the meaning behind it. Eminence front, if you break it down, it refers to a false front, or basically a put-on that others would have in the world. So you think about, you're entering Ohio Stadium, it's this slow build. This other team, come on, it's a put-on, it's a face. You're playing the Ohio State Buckeyes, right? So the meaning behind the meaning, there's a lot of levels to this.
Okay, really, for me, very
I really thought this one through.
Leave it to make the intro song intellectual and deep.
I'm just saying.
Professor Ben, for me, very quickly, in the fourth quarter, only if Ohio State's winning, which, you know, they have a good streak of doing that. So I would do Uptown by Drake. I see all this money through my Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm a big Drake stan, and I think that Jersey could maybe drop a new song that includes Ohio State coming off of that national championship. I'm just saying.
I like that. I like that.
All right, well, the college football playoffs are closer than you might think, and some preseason favorites are already out of the hunt. We turn the clocks back and see how early is way too early playoff predictions and how they've played out so far this season. That's coming up on The Football Fever. Welcome back. In this edition of Nissan Shifting Strategies, Jay Rich is going to have to shift his strategy when picking his Final Four. Let's take a look there. Jay predicted earlier in the season that Ohio State, LSU, Miami, and Penn State would make it to the CFP semifinals. So far, it looks like maybe just 2 of those teams are going to make it. I think we can all agree Ohio State for sure. But after Miami's shocking upset to Louisville last night, now it seems to be wide open, man. Jay, 4 picks from Carson Beck. Thoughts on that Miami loss at Miami,
that's a great photo.
My crystal ball is looking real cloudy right now, and that's exactly how my face looked last night on the 3rd pick by Carson Beck. Had no idea that was going to happen. His Heisman odds were plus 350 heading into that game. Crystal ball was being praised by all the Miami and all the U guys. I had Warren Sapp texting me like, "You see my boys? Yeah, now I see your boys going out there and stubbing their toe against an unranked Louisville." Completely blew up all of my selections and picks, and that is the nature of the beast. And they still have a chance, by the way, to be in. When you look at their schedule, they're going to have SMU, and they're going to probably have to play Clemson. So they're going to have a chance to be in it. But, yes, that's a very bad look.
I mean, look, but Jay, I think it shows that it's hard to predict at this point in college football, and with NIL, parity, upsets, the transfer portal. It really is hard to project. The talent's so spread out, and it's kind of up and down with these teams. Ben, what is that? But here's the thing. Ohio State has remained consistent.
They have. Yeah, to me, that's the separator, guys, from a Ryan Day versus a Mario Cristobal. You're not going to stub your toe. You're not going to lose that dumb game that's going to get in your way of getting to a national championship and getting to the playoffs. So we talk about separators in sport. To me, that's the separator, not stubbing your toe on a game like we saw with Miami right there.
Obi, who do you think could win a national championship this year?
You know, I'm not trying to be a homer, but at the end of the day, it's Ohio State. I mean, to me, it's a clear pathway. It's just about distractions. Can Ryan Day keep distractions out of the weight room, out of the film room, out of the Woody Hayes itself? And I think Ohio State can win this national
Ohio
championship.
State right now, they look like the most complete team in college football. But we'll be right back. A lot more to get to on the Football Fever. Stick with us.
Welcome back to the Football Fever, live from Madison, Wisconsin. Time now for our Hyundai keys to the game. My first key is run around. Yeah, they like to jump around here at Camp Randall Stadium. I'm putting run around because the Buckeyes need to get the run game back. Last week, they struggled against Illinois to move the ball effectively on the ground, just 2.9 yards per carry. A lot of that had to do with Illinois' run defense, but I want to see Bo Jackson and the guys get back to what they do and run the football. Shades of red. We're going to see 2 teams today who have scarlet and red as their colors, but I'm talking red zone here, because last week the Buckeyes finally gave up their first red zone touchdown of the year. Let's see if they can get back to being stingy inside the 20. And finally, no mistake on the lake. I'm looking right at you, Julian, saying the only way to lose a football game when you're a 25-point favorite is to turn the football over. As long as the Buckeyes don't hurt themselves, there's no way the Badgers can hurt them either. So that's the story here, live from Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin. The Buckeyes and the Badgers with a 3:30 kickoff. Thank you so much for joining us on